Anyway, let's keep going with your stories. Don in San Jose. Hey, Don, you're on with Willard and Dibs. What's up?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Great, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little sad. Obviously Willie was my favorite player, and I go back. I'm older than Costas, right in there with the Danny Glover, a little younger than Danny, and I remember the 58 Seal Stadium. Of course, Danny didn't mention about the Hams beer glass that used to fill up. That kind of enamored me when I went over there. But he everybody said it. He had a smile. He loved the game. I've probably seen a few of his home runs. But one memory that sticks out, I don't know if anybody's mentioned it, is 1962. They were playing the Mets. I think that was the Mets' first year. And Willie slid in to second base. And I think Elio Chacon, he thought he got spiked, or maybe he did. I don't think he did it intentionally because, Willie didn't do stuff like that. But he started swinging on Willie. And Willie, you guys have said he's 5'10", 170. He picked up Chacon like a rag doll and threw him on the ground. And I was there with my dad. And he says, "Oh, wow." He says, "Don't mess with that guy." I says, "I never seen that side of him, But, I mean, he fought back, and that was rare, because he just loved the game. He had a great smile. I never had a chance to meet him, but I was texting with my son, who's in the business of collectibles. He's met him 4 times, actually went to his house and said he's just such a great guy and again, everybody said he's the best there ever was when you put all the hitting, fielding, quickness, stealing, batting average, home runs. He would have hit more. It's all been said. If he was playing in Atlanta, he would have hit more. 2 years in the service. So, that's my thoughts. I'm more of a basketball guy, but I tell you, if Willie was playing now, just like Steph Curry, I don't watch the other stuff that much, but if Willie was playing, I'd be watching it just like I'd be watching Steph, and so that's my thoughts.
Absolutely. Don, thank you. Thank you so much. Don just made something else just flashed into my head.
Yeah.
And I bet you'll know what this is. Do you remember, and I think, was it ESPN that did this? Do you remember when they would re-air those old Home Run Derby?
Home Run Derby.
Where each week, the leading home run hitters in the major leagues will compete.
This week, Harmon Killebrew against Willie Mays.
Craziest thing you've ever seen for someone who's a modern fan.
Right.
And for those of you who aren't old enough to know what we're talking about, sort of neither are we. But this got replayed a lot, probably back in the 80s and 90s.
Right, when ESPN was desperate for material because they didn't have all the leagues.
Correct. So they would replay these.
Programming.
So you turn on the TV, and what's in black and white, and obviously was filmed back in the 50s and 60s, but you'd get, and imagine a modern fan thinking that you could do this now. Like, imagine if today they're like, all right, here's what we're going to do. On a day off, we're going to get Aaron Judge and Juan Soto to put their uniforms on, fly to some other city, and we're going to film you taking batting practice where you're attempting to hit home runs. There's no fans in the stands. There's like 2 cameras.
Right.
And we're just going to film you hitting home runs at a completely empty ballpark with no sound, no effects, nothing going on, just hitting home runs and then doing awkward interviews afterwards. So, how did that one feel? Well, yeah, felt good, Bob. Was hitting the ball well today.
1960 at Wrigley Field. No. Not that Wrigley Field. The one in Los Angeles. Wrigley Field, Los Angeles. Willie Mays appeared 5 times, and he went 3-2.
I remember, and I would turn this on as a little kid, and I'd be like, I found it, and this is part of Willie and why I bring it up. I find him to be one of these people, he just brought up Curry. You sort of can't take your eyes off him. And so there's Willie, like going against Mickey Mantle at some baseball lot in L.A., and they're just out there like, whack. Yeah, well, that one's deep to left and gone.
The Mick got him, actually, 9-8.
I bet he did.
That was episode 1. And for the win,
I remember.
Mickey Mantle received $2,000. And for losing, Willie received $1,000.
$1,000.
$1,000. Major Vagala.
Major. Yeah, there you go.
He would go on to win 3 straight over Bob Allison, Harmon Killebrew, and Jim Lemon. Gil Hodges finally got him in episode 22.
Frickin' Gil. Yeah, well, Willie was probably tired by then.
Exactly.
Good Lord. Yeah, but you couldn't, like, I'd sit there and watch this, and it felt awkward, but I'm like, you just can't take your eyes off these guys. So Mantle and Mays, who have a whole universe unto themselves, and Bob Costas is uniquely able to talk about this, and will do so with us here in 20 minutes. Let's keep going with you. Ben in Fairfield, you're next up. Hey, Ben, what's up?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for doing what you guys have been doing today and yesterday, obviously. But I'm a 25-year-old guy. I was born 30 years after Willie stopped playing, but I wore 24 playing center field in Little League and in travel ball. And just what a guy. The first time I got to see him up close and personal was riding down Market Street in the Cadillac at a parade. And what a sight. And I can't not say just thank you to my mom for introducing me to baseball. She took me to every opening day growing up as a kid. So I've been to 25 opening days, and this last year, a couple of months ago, we're in the dugout store before the game, and she's thinking about buying her first Giants jersey of her whole life. And guess which jersey she decides to go with? It's number 24, and just feels even more special. Yeah, just really got a tear in my eye, but a smile on my face for sure.
Ben, thanks,
That's
man.
well put, Ben. I think that's a lot of us over the past 24 hours, which is tear in your eye and a smile on your face.
25 years old.
Yeah.
Like, didn't even come close to watching Willie play.
Right, but the connection with his mom and through the club and all of that leads him to wear number 24. And the image of Willie going down Market Street in that Cadillac is one that many, especially younger people, remember and latch onto as a great indelible memory of Willie Mays.
That's so powerful, though. I mean, Willie Mays had been retired for almost 30 years when Ben was born. And then Ben's wearing his number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I played third base in high school, so I wore Matt Williams' number, you know, because Matt Williams was the third baseman of the Giants when I was over there. Imagine wanting to wear the number of someone who hadn't been playing for an entire generation when you were born.
Right.
By the time Ben's in high school playing, Willie's been out of the league for 40 years. It's just so incredibly powerful. Ron in Napa next up with Willard and Dibs. Hi, Ron.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Okay, great. Well, you know, my twist is a little different. I'm 71, black man. I was born in California, but was raised back east in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I'm a Steeler fan and Pirate fan, and I grew up with Willie Stargell and Roberto Clemente. But I had a weird thing that happened because yesterday when I heard about the death of just a great human being, I was telling my wife as I'm listening to your program that, you know, Willie Mays, I just remember just loving him and adoring him, even though I wasn't here in the Bay Area at that time. But it was a strange thing that happened to me that I became tearful a number of times. And then this morning I was watching First Take and they were talking about Willie Mays for a few minutes. They didn't really give him much, but I start crying again. And then I had to kind of deal with that all day, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with me. And then I had to kind of just come to grips with the fact that being black, being a person who's 70, I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania where, you know, racism was really just there, and it was right in your face. And I remember as a man, as a black person, just wanting to see images of black people in the media and anywhere that I could see them. It could be football, it could be baseball, it could be basketball, just emulating a life of character. Because for me personally, I wanted to feel like white people would look at us as being worthy of being respected. And when I see individuals like Willie Mays and others, it built up my encouragement to keep pressing on, to keep focused on being the best human being I can be. And still today, when I watch, you know, sports and I see white players and black players and I see them embrace, I might be strange about this, but I get tearful about that, because it's like I enjoy the fact that there's been an evolution where we're now respected, where there's now some great relationships that are being developed between whites and blacks. And I guess I'm a very sentimental person, because whenever I see any person of color doing something with integrity and living a life with integrity and living a life where literally they're doing the right thing, it's like I'm looking around the world and I'm hoping that other, you know, people who are maybe have that racist just fiber in them, that they see those people and say that we're not all alike, instead of whenever I see those that are even in crime shows where it shows a black individual, and like I said, I might be strange about that, but I feel that it just hurts the perspective, the fact that people will look at us as being just inferior, look at us as being criminals. I mean, I've lived a very righteous life. I've been a very successful person, but primarily because of people like Willie Mays. Willie Mays, because I look at him as being part of me, that there's hope now, that I can be a person that has integrity. I can be respected because he's setting an example for others that will not just look at us as being inferior or being worthless or being just second-class citizens. So that's where the tears came from in your show and others, especially your show, though, because of the sharing and just it just kind of penetrated. And I haven't shared any of these thoughts with anybody, even my wife. I've not told her how deep that effect of racism has affected me, and how much I look around at the world and I pay attention to all the relationships, especially when you're showing when there's blacks and whites. Even when I see them in the streets and I see relationships, it just really builds up something in me that encourages me to just keep pushing, and that there's hope that even those that actually have the the perspective that we aren't, where we're not human.
Ron, can we spend another 30 seconds with you, Ron? I want to say something from the bottom of my heart. First of all, you've a number of times said, hey, maybe I'm weird with this. I don't think there's even the tiniest bit of weird or odd or off in anything that you just said. And I also think everything that you just talked about, my goodness, if anything is worthy of your emotions, it's that. I think this is one of the most profound phone calls that we've taken on this show all year long, to put into words the experience that you have in this country as a black man, and the furthering of those feelings because of who Willie was, because of how he conducted himself, and because of the way he was able to share his gifts with everyone. I think you just did a better job maybe than any of us could in explaining why Willie Mays was so important to the civil rights movement. I really thank you for calling.
Well, I appreciate that because it took me a lot to call.
Yeah.
And these feelings are real.
Thanks, Ron.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah,
you.
Ron, thank you. You have a great day. That's one of the things that and I say one of the things, that's the thing.
Yeah.
For Willie. And that's why over the last 24 hours, there's no pushing away his stats and the baseball player he was.
Yeah.
But it's just not what I feel is the most connected thing when I think of Willie Mays. It's the feelings that he brings out in the people who watched him. And we all have different backgrounds and entry points, and you and I sit here with a privilege that so many don't have. And so to know, though, to hear those stories, to know what Willie meant to so many for reasons like that, that's what stands out to me, and also what strikes me so much that Willie passed yesterday, that he passed the day before Juneteenth and 2 days before Major League Baseball goes to Rickwood Field. I just think there's some real magic there. That's what I think.
It's magic, and it's also incredibly sad. And
totally.
The irony of it and the coincidence of it is not lost on anybody. And you think about what it's going to mean tomorrow, what it means today on Juneteenth, certainly what it meant yesterday when we got the news live on the air and we tried to process it in real time. And Bob Costas quoted today in a piece in Yahoo, and he says, I think it's both poetic and poignant that he died just a couple of days before the game, which is at Rickwood Field to commemorate not only the Negro League players, but also, in particular, Willie Mays. Willie Mays.
That's why the Giants are in this game.
Exactly. It's not by coincidence.
Yes.
And, the fact that he is from Birmingham, Alabama, and that's where the game is, and he is the most iconic San Francisco Giant, New York Giant that there ever was, all of that makes this so much more poignant and poetic that this game was going to be the day after Juneteenth, and the Cardinals and Giants, great old rivals, and everything was set up for it to be a celebration of Willie Mays, living legend, and now it's just Willie Mays, the legend who has passed.
Ron, I bet you're still listening. I want you to know that one of my very good friends just lit up my phone and just texted me, Ron, with 5 exclamation points and a heart.
That was the stuff right there.
So Ron, right? Willie Mays had this unbelievable effect on you, and you were able to put it in such an unbelievable package when you just called our show, and then you just had that effect on everybody listening to us.
And you put it really well, Mark, when you talked about privilege and the privilege that you have and that I have and so many of us, white men in this country have, and there's nothing I can do to really understand the plight of others other than listen. And it's something that you and I have talked about before on the show, off the show, the power of listening. And so to sit here and hear Ron talk about his experiences being a black man in America and listening to what he was talking about and what Willie Mays meant to him, for me, becomes more powerful than, you and I running down his baseball reference and me talking about how he had an OPS of more than 900 in every single month of the year and how he's one of the greatest hitters that I've never seen and whatever, and all the things you and I can talk about. The impact that he had on other people who don't share our privilege is far more powerful than anything he ever did at the plate.
Well, I've watched so many people, even just again, and I'm looking at the clock, so it's been 22 hours since we, almost to the minute, it's been 22 hours since we got the news that Willie Mays had passed away. And I've watched and heard about so many people, I wonder what last night was like in the Bay. I bet so many of you are like, let me go watch that doc. Well, let me go Google some stuff and let's learn a little bit more about what Rickwood Field was all about. What is this about? The energy that I've seen from people the interest in wanting to go learn more and dive deeper into Willie Mays because of his passing, because of Rick Woodfield. I am very energized by that. Like I've watched that in a lot of people who just last night, like Rick Wood's coming in 48 hours, and last night they're like, all right, what's going on here? What is this really all about? I know he's celebrating the Negro Leagues and the players who came through, but what's this really all about? And then Willie coming out with an interview the day before his passing. Actually, may have even been the same day when we read the quote about how thankful he was and excited he was that this was actually happening. I think that's a part of this gift that we're all getting this week. We are presented by Fremont.